Starts early. All right. So, Beshalach, right? Parashat Beshalach. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. So, the biggest part, obviously, in this Torah portion is the Red Sea splitting. But there's so many other miracles and things, stories to glean from, teachings and learn from. And I love a lot, and it's about the Shabbat. And so this is the first time the Shabbat is mentioned, explicitly mentioned as Shabbat, um, for the Jewish people to start keeping it. And it's when Hashem gave the manna, right? So in Exodus chapter 16, the Israelites are hungry and afraid and uncertain. And, they're wondering what they're going to eat and things. And then Hashem introduces them to this schedule, this 6 day of gathering and 1 day of resting. And it's like a miracle that happens. It doesn't happen just every week. Honestly, it happens every single day, right? It's a miracle that happens every single day. And then the miracle that happens on Shabbat is that the food lasts an extra day as opposed to all the other days, right? And so they are becoming, this is like Hashem's way of training them to become dependent on Him. And it was a miracle, right? And it's beautiful. So here in Rashi, when Rashi teaches us about this a little bit in Exodus 16, verse 25, he writes, this teaches us that the Shabbat is equal in importance to all the commandments of the Torah. And you're like, whoa, how did he get that from just this Torah portion? Just this little thing about the manna. But he equaled it to all the commandments, and not because it's not just one mitzvah that we keep among all the rest of the mitzvah, but is like a connection to Hashem. It's like a way to learn who Hashem is, what He is, and also gives us this time, which is one of our probably most valuable resources, and we share this time with Hashem. All right, and then in the Talmud, in Shabbat 118b, it talks about the Shabbat some more. It says, whoever observes the Shabbat according to its laws, even if he worships idols, I think it should be like he worshipped idols in the past, like the generation of Enosh, he is forgiven. So this isn't saying that you can go worship idols, but it's saying that the Shabbat is so important, so transformative, that it like changes your heart in a sense. It changes the way you are, and it makes you want to follow Hashem, and you're forgiven of all the past idolatry that you might have done. Okay, and then we continue on. And the next question is, so why is Shabbat so powerful? Why can it, in a sense, even if we're keeping it, even forgive sins, right? The Midrash, Exodus Rabbah, in 25:12, it gives us an answer. It says, the Holy One, blessed be He, said to Moshe, I have a precious gift in my treasure house, and it's called the Shabbat, and I wish to give it to Israel. So it's not only is it a mitzvah, but as a gift. It's a gift to us, right? It's not a burden. It's not even like kind of like, I would say, like a mitzvah, like other things. It is a gift, right? I mean, we are required to do it, but it's like honestly benefit for us. So this comes for me like it's a personal connection to the Shabbat. And so when I was a kid, when I was young, like these guys, for them over there, I had I was keeping Shabbat, but to me it wasn't that fun. There's all these rules things I couldn't do. It was kind of like a burden to me, I felt like, as a child. Um, and I'm not sure why I felt that way. We did some fun things on Shabbat. It wasn't always that way, but sometimes I didn't like Shabbat, right? But then when I got into college and I started like actually really studying, and working, I'd work and study, and I like had like my days were super busy, and I had no time to just rest and to just think, just decompress, or whatever they call it. But then the Shabbat would come, and I would like really, really enjoy it, right? It became like this extra blessing that I was taking for granted when I was younger, but now it was like, man, this is what Shabbat's all about. Shabbat is like, stop thinking about all this other stuff and just rest and work and worship Hashem, and just hang out with my friends, and we didn't have to like do school and stuff, and it was just like so much better, right? To me, it's like the light switched on me, and I was like, okay, this is what Shabbat's about. I love Shabbat now. I was like, this is great. I get to actually enjoy it, and and the blessing of it is that it's not just that I was able to keep Shabbat, and I like recognize that it was such a blessing, but that Hashem, even though I took that day off, didn't work, didn't study, he still blessed me in that the provisions that he gave for me carried on into Shabbat. Even if I didn't study that Shabbat, I was still blessed. I still retain the knowledge. There's all these things that is a blessing about it, and that I was like, and it still continues on. It seems like the Shabbat has blessed me in many, many ways, not just that extra day of rest, but just in other things. There's it's just like you get extra blessings from keeping the Shabbat, I feel. And then you also depend on Hashem, because you're going to be taking that extra day off, and you have to depend on Hashem to provide for you during that day, right? And so when we try to compare it to the Israelites, our forefathers back then, they were in the desert, they had to depend on Hashem. But I don't think it's too much different now. We still have to depend on Hashem for all the provisions that we get. We still have to also trust that He's going to provide for us on this extra day that we're taking off every week, right? And there's this there's like this connection of you have peace on this day, you have fellowship, and you study Torah. There's so many things that helps you when you keep Shabbat, right? But you still are depending on Him, and depending on Hashem, and it's telling us, that we need to just receive this blessing. Stop, be still, receive the blessing from Hashem every Shabbat. And it's like this continual thing. Every week we get to do it. Every week we renew that trust in Hashem that He's going to take care of us, right? And so this is the challenge is kind of simple, because we've already been probably doing it for quite a long time. But the challenge is to keep Shabbat. Obviously, invite your friends to keep Shabbat, to see the joy, the beauty of it. But then also, I would say go further on and actually truly try to rest on Shabbat, right? I know we in our congregation we do use computers and things for Shabbat, but we try to keep it to the minimum. Use your devices, your phones, your computers only for for the necessities of Shabbat, maybe communication or whatever. But don't just try to decompress and enjoy Shabbat, enjoy the just hanging out and not having to worry about stuff, and and just remember, when you light the candles, you make kiddush, and you get to join with your family and friends and just rest on that day. And so to me, I love Shabbat. I loved it as a kid, but not as much as when I, started school and working and all those other things. Then I loved it even more. And it's just a big blessing that we need to cherish. And I think it's also like a legacy that we pass on to our children, pass on to um, you know our generations, and that's what also has kept us. I kept us going, kept us in the truth, kept the Torah going, everything. I think Shabbat is a very, very important thing, and I think that's also one of the things that when people are first learning, if they haven't been raised in Judaism or anything like that, that's one of the first commandments that is oftentimes they cling on to. They learn about it and they're like, oh, this is very important. This is a good thing to do. And so that's my challenge. Continue to keep Shabbat. Don't ever forsake it. And it will bless you throughout your life and throughout your generations. Shabbat Shalom.